appears you got here just in the nick of time. What does that make us?
Big damn heroes, sir.
Ain't we just?
Hello everyone. One of the comments I received linked me to a video which I could only describe as chemtrail comedy. Now this video is so obviously a hoax, it's amazing that anybody could possibly take it serious, but I do grant that many people just simply don't understand aviation. Now this video does have one redeeming quality in that it makes my point by showing how close and even within the contrails aircraft operate. And so therefore my point is validated that if chemtrails were real, people who work in aviation would not be better looking and smarter than other people. They would be getting sick. Now 25 seconds in, there's a scary scene where we see a hand supposedly flip the switch at the bottom left of this panel, which has a taped on sticker labeled chemtrail on off. Now first of all, if you'll notice, the sticker on this switch here has obviously been taped on, and it's not fully stuck down. This is because the hoaxer obviously intends to remove this before he gets in trouble for having put that there in the first place. Now one of the things that gives this away as being a hoax is the fact that the captain is absent during the filming, and that the first officer is the one who activates that switch. And this is obviously the first officer's panel, as we'll see in a second. Now if the switch were real in the first place, it's laughable to suggest that this switch would be activated by the first officer alone without the captain present. This clearly indicates to me that the first officer is the prankster, and that he's doing this while the captain is back in the toilet. Now in the second place, take a look at where this switch is. It's right next to some dimmers, a volume control, and some lighting switches. Now, it's stupid to even suggest that an engineer would put the deployment switch for a weapon of mass destruction right next to these other switches where it could be mistaken. That is just ridiculous on its face. This video takes place in the cockpit of an A320 airliner, as you can see here in this picture. And the panel in question is up here at the top right on the first officer's side of the cockpit. This is in fact a lighting and display switching panel that we'll take a look at here in some detail. Now if you take the time to look up what these switches are, you would find that here's how they break down. We have two dimmer knobs for the flight displays, the big TV screens that you see in the main picture. The middle switch there is for switching the TV screens from one side to the other in case one of them fails in flight. We have a lighting switch for the console and floor lights, and we have the volume control for the cockpit loudspeaker. And what is this mysterious switch on the bottom left? It's for the optional foot warmers. That's right, folks. You have fallen for somebody putting a sticky label over a switch for the foot warmers used to keep the pilot's footsies nice and warm on those cold winter flights. By far the most outrageous claim made in this video is this one: that a spraying aircraft without permission would fly below a regular flight. To use it as cover, it appears only one radar target. The aircraft in this photograph are much farther apart than they appear to the eye of the camera. In fact, they're much too far apart to fool a state-of-the-art system such as air traffic control radar. Air traffic control radar is sensitive enough that it can actually detect flocks of birds in flight, and an individual airplane certainly poses no challenge for it. If you were a hypothetical aircraft intending to operate as the video describes, you would first appear on air traffic control radar as an unknown target. As you approached an airliner with the intention of hiding behind it, the air traffic control radar computer system would set off a traffic alert, alerting the controller to your presence, who would issue orders to the airliner to avoid you with the intent of avoiding a mid-air collision. Now you may try to advance the notion that the air traffic controllers are in collusion in this conspiracy. However, this argument fails because air traffic controllers are highly trained professionals whose lives are dedicated to keeping aircraft apart. There are thousands of them around the country, and to suggest that you could subvert thousands of people to do something that is against their professional training on such a scale is simply impossible. Now, if you wish to get down the road that the aircraft are hiding in the plain sight, You should know that any airplane operating in this airspace is required to have a transponder. Now, a transponder provides radar identification to the air traffic control radar, and it also serves as a data link to drive this system, the TCAS, or Traffic Collision Avoidance System. TCAS would detect any aircraft operating nearby with a transponder. It would alert the flight crew to the presence of that aircraft and issue commands to avoid a mid-air collision. Now, if an airplane was operating close to you, your TCAS system would be sitting there screaming its head off at you, alerting you to the presence of the other airplane. You would alert air traffic control, and now they would have a mystery on their hands that would have to be resolved through a public forum. This picture, by the way, represents 24 hours of air traffic in the United States. And the idea that an aircraft could just randomly insert itself into this flow without detection is laughable. Now, returning to the question of the public forum, few people outside of aviation appreciate the magnitude of oversight that takes place in the world of aviation. The Federal Aviation Administration, in addition to maintaining the air traffic control system in the United States, also maintains a set of regional flight standards district offices which have geographical jurisdiction over operators. In addition to that, each individual airline has its own principal operations inspector, who's rather like having your own law enforcement officer assigned to your business. In addition, there's the National Transportation Safety Board and the law enforcement agencies such as the Transportation Security Administration, the Drug Enforcement Agency, Customs, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, all of which maintain intense scrutiny on aviation operations for the obvious reasons. And finally, beyond that, the aviation community self-polices itself. Labor unions sponsor programs such as ASAP programs, or Aviation Safety Action Programs, and NASA maintains the Aviation Safety Reporting System, which is also open to all aviation professionals from all the different crafts. Now, all of these programs would immediately raise a red flag if there were mysterious airplanes wandering around the most intensely operated and intensely scrutinized airspace on the planet. Now, one final point. For those of you who try to advance the argument that the airplanes are hiding in plain sight operating as some other airline's flights, that's simply not possible. The FAA oversight would catch it instantly. And hiding behind some other business front would never work as well, because the moment their call sign was heard on the air for the first time, every pilot within hearing range would immediately start asking the question of who they are and do they pay better than their present job. This would lead to them being revealed publicly in a very short order. So in conclusion, the original video is an epic fail, and if you believe any part of it, you've just been duped by a pilot with a label maker and way too much time on his hands.
If I'm your mission, Shepard, best give it up. You're welcome on my boat. God ain't.